worldwide, there is a new case of dementia every 3.2 seconds. It seems like, I don't know if this is true, but is Alzheimer's and dementia on the rise?
Oh, yes. Yeah, it is. In fact, it went from not being even on the radar to being a top 10 killer. Now, it's interesting how people even die from Alzheimer's disease. It's a very kind of vague death. But yeah, Alzheimer's disease is one of the top 10 diseases now, certainly in the West. And I would argue it's because it has a metabolic origin. Now, one of the interesting things about Alzheimer's disease is we have spent billions of dollars on Alzheimer's research trying to identify the plaque. So just to set the stage here so that people listening can appreciate this paradigm shift that's occurred in Alzheimer's research. Originally, and even in many people still, people thought that Alzheimer's disease is the result of these plaques accumulating in the brain. These kind of little proteinaceous, little thick things that are preventing neurons from sending the signals throughout the brain for the brain to think and have normal cognition. And yet there are those of us, and I'm proud to say I have long been one of them, who has said that the plaque-based theory doesn't make sense. We have had drugs that have been available for human use for years that have effectively reduced plaques in the brain and yet did nothing to improve cognition. So that is an immediate challenge of the plaque-based theory of Alzheimer's. Even further, even beyond older than that evidence, when you would look post-mortem or look at tissue donor people who'd passed away, you would look at the brains of people who died with confirmed Alzheimer's disease at the time of death and look at the brain of someone who died without any evidence of any cognitive decline or any compromised thinking whatsoever. And you would be just as likely to find plaques in both brains. So whether the brain had Alzheimer's disease or not, you would still see plaques in the brain. So the whole idea that plaques mattered has long been controversial. And just to put a fine point on it before transitioning to the metabolic origins, about 2 or 3 years ago, they found out that the very first published papers that implicated plaque as a cause of Alzheimer's disease were based on fabricated data. So the scientists who published those first reports that led to the entire theory that Alzheimer's disease is plaque-based were called out as fraudulent. And indeed, all of it was fabricated. So the entire idea that Alzheimer's, and we have spent billions of dollars on studies to try to determine how do plaques cause Alzheimer's disease?